Hey Lois, Ben Johnson here to show you some of the changes in the Google Classroom. Remember, the Google Classroom is really the easiest way for you to go online with your classes because you don't have to remember to share things with your students and vice versa. You can grade things electronically, return things electronically, a nice way to go paperless. The best way in my opinion. Okay, so how do you use Google Classroom? From the Rocky homepage, you can just go to quick links. Your students can navigate this way also. And then from there is the Google Classroom. If you're not already signed in, you'll just sign in with your PSD credentials. You can use this from home, and your students can as well, which is another advantage over, say, the server, which can only be accessed from school. Your landing page may look different than mine. If you've never used Google Classroom before, you may need to click on Teacher or Student. Of course, you'd click on Teacher. Once you've clicked on Teacher and you've used it, you'll begin to see your classes here. If your screen gets too cluttered like mine's beginning to here, remember you can just use these dots and archive things that you're not using any longer. But to make a new class, you'll hit that plus sign, you'll create a class. By the way, your students will just join the class, so otherwise it's identical. So you'll create a class, just call it whatever the name of the prep is, and then whatever the period is. By the way, you should make a class for each period. It's just going to be easier to keep things sorted that way. And then just hit create. And that will create a new class for you in the Google Classroom. So no excuse. I mean, it takes 5 seconds to set it up, so it's fast, quick, easier than sending an email to somebody to ask them to make a drop folder for you. Okay, so you can select a different theme if you don't like the one that was randomly chosen for you. There's all sorts of nice themes here. If for some reason you can't find a theme that you like, you can always upload a photo or find a banner, a pre-existing banner from a Google image search, and use that instead. The letter code down here is the key. You're going to write that up on your whiteboard for students. So in this case, I'd put KQV3IV on the board. When they hit join, they would punch that in. That magically takes care of all the sharing permissions for you and your students, and that's what makes this such an awesome tool. Alright, so to get started, all you're going to do is give your kids that code. This is a change. There's now a plus sign in the lower right hand corner. You can add questions, create assignments, or create announcements. I suspect that in large part you will be using this to create assignments, and so there's sort of a two-part to this. You'll want to use this in combination with Google Drive. So if you just open a new tab and you type in drive.google.com, you'll want to just go ahead, and any of your handouts or anything, you're just going to want them to be in your Google Drive. So you'll probably have your Google Drive and Google Classroom open as you do this. Now, brand new things that you're creating, you can just hit new, and you can just select a Google Doc and create the thing from scratch, or copy and paste from an existing Word doc, or you can do a file upload and upload a Word doc that maybe you've already got a worksheet in. If you use this file upload, remember to click on this cog up here and go to your settings, and then under convert uploads, make sure that that's checked. Convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format. That way when you upload your Word docs, they're going to be converted into a Google Doc that will work much better for your students. In this case, I'm just going to pretend like I'm making a new worksheet. So I'll just hit new Google Doc, and I'm just going to title it worksheet. Of course, you'll name yours whatever you'd like to name it. I've got a few too many tabs open, so my apologies for the speed of my browser here. Alright, so I'm just going to call this worksheet. And then down here is where you would ask your questions, give the student the prompt about what you want them to write about, that sort of thing. Once you've done that, then you can go back to your Google Classroom, click this plus sign, click add an assignment, and then here you would just type in the name of the assignment. You can put a description, you can give it a due date and a due time if you'd like. Certainly optional, but a nice feature to have. Students can turn things in after this date and time, but it will be marked as being late. Then the key to this is that you want to attach that Google Doc that you just made. Now you can attach your old Word and PowerPoints and PDFs, but they're not going to be interactive that way. So you really want to move towards this Google Doc feature. You can do YouTube videos if maybe you want students to watch a video, or you can put web links in, which is also a nice feature. So I'm just going to do my Google Doc here, and I'll just search for that worksheet that I just created, and you'll see that it finds that, and I'll just click on it. Now here's the key to this. By default it says students can view file, which is fine if you just want them to read it, but in most cases you're going to want to make a copy for each student if you want to treat this like an old-fashioned, say, worksheet that you would take to the photocopy machine. So make a copy for each student is going to give every student a copy of that for themselves that they can type on and submit to you electronically. This make a copy for each student is really what makes Google Classroom so awesome. Most of the other tools just don't offer this functionality, so you'll probably be making a copy for each student, but remember you can just do students can view file. If you want the whole class to work on a Google Doc together or a Google slideshow together, you could say students can edit file, but then the whole class will be working on one single file. So I'd say most of the time you'll probably be making a copy for each student. By the way, this make a copy for each student is only available when you create the assignment the first time. In other words, you can't go back and change this after the fact. So if you ever make a mistake, you can just delete the assignment with the X and re-add a new one to allow you to make a copy for each student. And then I'm just going to simply assign that. And now any of my students that have joined my class with that code are actually going to get an email saying that I've added this a new assignment, or they can just go directly to the Google Classroom. Now students will go into your Google Classroom, they'll click on that, and they'll get their own copy. They can type on it. When they're done, they're going to have a turn-in button at the top of their screen, and they're going to be able to turn that into you. When you open it up from the Google Classroom, you'll be able to click here to open them up. And you're going to be able to grade them by going from this editing mode to the suggesting mode, and then you can just grade them electronically. And this is the same thing as track changes. And then you'll have a return button at the top of your screen to return it to the student, and you'll be able to give them a score as well. Now there's some cool things you can do here. In addition to the Google Classroom, you can use a tool called Rubric, which will attach a rubric to this Google Doc, and it's just a real slick way to grade it. If you're interested in learning how to do some of those things, or using Kaizenna to do audio feedback, happy to help with that. But this is just a quick and dirty screencast to get you started. In addition to adding assignments, I think people are going to like this create a question, and so maybe you just want to ask students. Maybe it's an exit ticket, so tell me something you liked about today's class. Maybe an exit question, and then I can just go ahead and ask that. Now if I don't want them to see each other's answers, I can uncheck that, but if I want them to see each other's answers, I can leave that checked. So I think people are going to like that a lot also. So that's a new feature that they just added recently. Other tabs, this About tab might be a nice place for you to add materials like your syllabus, your expectations, maybe a link to the textbook. This About stream is a nice place to do that. You're probably not going to need to do much here in the students page unless you have a student who's commenting inappropriately or something. You can check their name and mute that student, but I haven't heard about too many problems. But basically under the stream, if you want to treat this like a Facebook type of a stream, you can do that, and teachers have reported good results. Some of your students just don't like to speak up in class, and this gives them a way to participate without taking that risk of having to speak up in front of classmates. It might be a nice way to get some of those shy students to interact in your class. Alright, so if you need any help with this, holler. I'm happy to run down to your classroom and give you some one-on-one tutoring with that. Have a great day, Rocky.